The reason a moment of crisis feels overwhelming isn't the event itself. It's your mind's untrained refusal to accept emotional discomfort. We'll show you the 3-step psychological skill that allows you to stay calm when your mind is screaming.
This right here, this is the core idea we're going to unpack. That feeling of being completely swamped, of losing control, it's not actually coming from the bad news or the frustrating email. It's generated by your internal fight against the feeling. You see, most of us are taught to push bad feelings away, to see them as a weakness. But when we do that, we accidentally pour gasoline on the fire. We add a whole second layer of suffering. Today, we're going to learn a different way, a much, much better way.
All right, let's dive right into something called the overwhelm paradox. Now, this is one of those ideas that sounds completely backward at first, but it is incredibly powerful. The very act of trying to fight your emotions, to wrestle them into submission, that's what actually gives them their power over you. So to really get a handle on your internal state, you first have to learn how to let go of the struggle.
Look at this comparison. On the left, you've got the gut reaction, right? Fight the pain. You feel anger or anxiety, and your first thought is, I shouldn't feel this way. Resisting it is like trying to fight a riptide. You just exhaust yourself and get pulled under. It always leads to escalation. But now look at the right side, the effective method. Accept the pain. Now, this doesn't mean you like the situation. It just means you acknowledge, without judgment, okay, this feeling is here right now. When you do that, you stop feeding the fire. You get to a state of inner calm, not because the feeling vanished, but because you allowed it to pass through you naturally.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll diagnose the problem by looking at the mind's emergency alarm. Then we'll introduce the solution, the 3-step calm protocol. After that, we'll dive into the science of why it works by hacking your nervous system. Then we get super practical with your 30-second crisis drill. And we'll wrap it all up with the core philosophy, the path is through.
Let's start with the diagnosis. What is actually going on inside your body and your brain when that wave of emotion hits? Look, this isn't a character flaw, this is pure biology. We need to understand the mind's emergency alarm, specifically what we call the cortisol flood.
And here it is. This is the root of the whole problem. You have this ancient, incredibly powerful survival system baked into your brain. The fight-or-flight response is an absolute masterpiece if you're staring down a tiger, but it is a total disaster when you're staring at a critical email from your boss. The issue is, your brain can't tell the difference. It sounds the same 5-alarm fire for both. It's an old system that's just misfiring in our modern world. And this chain reaction, it happens in the blink of an eye. It starts with some kind of stress trigger. Your limbic system, the emotional primal part of your brain, hits the panic button. It doesn't ask permission. Then comes a massive flood of cortisol and adrenaline, physically getting your body ready for a fight. Your heart pounds, your muscles get tight, your thinking narrows. You're now in this state of intense physical and emotional pain, and your brain has only one goal: make it stop, now. And that leads to step 4, destructive coping. Yelling, firing off a nasty email, storming out, these are all just impulsive ways to discharge that painful energy.
So the key skill we need to build to break that chain is something called emotional decoupling. Think of it like installing a circuit breaker in your brain. It's the ability to feel an intense emotion without immediately acting on it. This creates a tiny gap, a neural pause between the feeling and the action. And in that crucial little pause, you give the rational, thinking part of your brain a chance to come back online and make a much better call.
So how do we create that neural pause on demand? We need a system, not just a vague hope, but a reliable, structured protocol you can run even when you're under massive pressure. This is the 3-step calm protocol. It's your system for emotional control.
Okay, let's look at how this works. It has 3 clear phases. Phase 1 is the catch and label. This is where you consciously notice the emotion and just name it. That simple act creates a bit of mental distance. Phase 2 is the tip skill protocol. This is your mandatory physiological override. You're literally using your body to change your mind when your feelings are just too intense for thinking alone. And finally, phase 3 is the pros and cons decoupling. This is your rational veto, a structured way to think through the consequences and stop yourself from doing something you'll regret.
Let's zoom in on that critical second phase, the tip skill, because this is your emergency toolkit. T is for temperature. We're talking about using cold water on your face to kickstart a powerful, natural calming reflex. I is for intense exercise. This means a quick burst of movement, sprinting up some stairs, doing a few push-ups to burn off all those stress hormones. And P is for paced breathing. Slow, deep breathing sends a direct signal to your nervous system that the danger has passed and it's safe to power down. Now, this might sound like a collection of cool tricks, but it's not.
This is all deeply rooted in neuroscience. The reason this protocol works so well is that it directly manipulates your body's wiring. We are, in a very real sense, hacking our own nervous system to force it from a state of high alert into a state of calm. Let's look at the science behind it.
Think of your nervous system as having two main modes. The sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal. Stress slams this pedal to the floor, flooding you with cortisol for fight or flight. The parasympathetic nervous system is the brake. It's your rest and digest system that's designed to calm everything down. Here's the key. Stress automatically hits the gas. The tip skill is your way of manually and intentionally slamming on the brake. You're using a physical action to force a shift from one system to the other.
So, over time, how does this protocol literally rewire your brain? Well, it works on 3 levels. First, it hacks your nervous system. That cold water from the tip skill triggers something called the diving reflex, which is a hardwired response that slows your heart rate and activates the calming part of your nervous system. Second, it strengthens your self-control. Every time you catch and label an emotion, or run through the pros and cons, you're doing a rep for your prefrontal cortex, making it stronger. And third, it reduces fear. By practicing radical acceptance, you stop fighting the emotion, which turns down the volume on the fear signal coming from your amygdala.
All right, enough theory. Let's move from the why to the how. We're going to boil all of this down into a simple, powerful drill that you can use right in the heat of the moment. This isn't just a nice idea, this is your action plan.
So, the next time you feel that wave of anger or panic start to build, what do? You don't just sit there and hope it goes away, you execute a plan. On this next slide is your non-negotiable sequence of actions. You need to memorize this, practice it when you're calm, so it becomes second nature when you're not.
Okay, here it is. 3 simple steps. Step 1. The instant you feel that surge, you catch it, you label it, you accept it. You just say to yourself, I am noticing frustration and I accept that this feeling is temporary. This simple act of observation creates that critical sliver of space. You are no longer drowning in the feeling, you are the one noticing the feeling. That's a huge shift. Step 2. If the emotion is a 6 out of 10 or higher, you immediately run the 30-second tip drill. The fastest way is the cold water hack. Go to a bathroom, splash cold water on your face, especially under your eyes and on your temples, and just hold it there. You're triggering that diving reflex we talked about. Step 3. The pros and cons veto. As the cold water starts to work its magic, your rational brain gets a window to come back online. Use it. Mentally list just 3 negative consequences of the impulsive thing you want to do. 1. I'll damage this relationship. 2. I'll make the problem worse. 3. I'll regret this later. That's it. That's your rational firewall.
I really want this number to stick with you. 30 seconds. That is how quickly the cold water hack can start to change your entire physiological state. By triggering the diving reflex, you can measurably slow your heart rate and shift your nervous system back toward calm in less than a minute. This isn't positive thinking, it's physiology. It is the fastest possible way to get back in control when you feel like you have none. It's your emergency brake.
Now, I want to leave you with the core philosophy that holds this whole system together. It's a fundamental shift in how we approach difficult feelings. The goal isn't to build a wall to keep feelings out. The goal is to learn how to walk through them with skill.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? For so long, we've been trying to find a shortcut around pain, some escape hatch from discomfort, but there isn't one. The only path to the other side of a difficult emotion is straight through it. The real skill is learning how to walk that path without setting off explosions along the way with our own impulsive actions.
So let's be absolutely crystal clear. The goal here is not to become a robot. Emotions are valuable data. The true goal, the real prize, is to become the master of that tiny space, that physiological pause between the moment you feel something and the moment you act. When you master that pause, you master yourself.
So let's recap this whole masterclass. What problem does it solve? It stops emotional escalation and knee-jerk impulsive reactions. Why does that matter? Because it gives you a systematic way to manage your body's crisis response. And how does it work? It hacks the autonomic nervous system with the tip skill and strengthens the prefrontal cortex with the other exercises. So here's your challenge. Commit to trying the 30-second tip drill the very next time you feel that surge of stress.
And remember, this goes way beyond just crisis management. Productivity isn't about grinding harder. It's about mastering systems that make focus effortless. And there is nothing that drains your focus more than uncontrolled emotional reactions. Master your internal state, and you will unlock a level of clarity and effectiveness you didn't even know was possible.